If you've ever found yourself maybe scrolling through social media late at night, like 2 a.m., and you're watching these perfectly curated lives unfold while you're battling deadlines, juggling all your responsibilities, and just wondering, will I ever really get it together? Well, if that sounds familiar, then you are absolutely in the right place. Welcome to another episode of Tiny Talks Big Ideas podcast. Today, we're doing a deep dive into something I think is really liberating. We're challenging that myth of perfection that seems to be everywhere.
It really is everywhere.
And we're exploring the surprising, powerful freedom that comes from, well, embracing our flaws. Think of this as an invitation, really, a journey towards finding strength, maybe some joy, and real authenticity in your beautifully messy, unpolished self.
It's quite something, isn't it, how that very pursuit of perfection often puts us in a kind of mental prison. It ironically stops us from actually living fully.
Yeah.
So many of us find ourselves wearing what some call a porcelain mask, that flawless look we show the world, carefully hiding every little crack.
The porcelain mask. I get that.
But underneath, there's often this deep exhaustion, right? This feeling of just suffocating under the weight of keeping up that impossible illusion.
That really resonates. Because perfection, it isn't just presented as some ideal. I read one piece describing it as the most beautiful, seductive, and dangerous lie we've ever been told.
Yeah.
Why do you think it has such a powerful grip on us? What makes it such a trap?
Well, it's seductive because it seems to promise control, maybe acceptance, but it usually delivers the opposite.
Right.
And social media has definitely amplified this. It's become this huge museum of curated lives, just constantly feeding us these snapshots. Flawless holidays, amazing careers, perfect relationships.
Yeah, the endless scroll.
Exactly. You see your college friend buying their second house or, some former colleague launching this amazing startup.
Or the perfect meal prep.
That too. And this constant stream, it can create what's been called digital dysmorphia. Like, our real lives feel so messy compared to this shiny online world. It traps us in that relentless compare and despair cycle.
Compare and despair.
We feel perpetually behind. And some research calls this constant need for external validation the success siren song. It pulls us into this endless chase, promising peace through achievement, but really just deepening the anxiety.
That cycle feels particularly intense for maybe people in their late 20s, 30s.
Yeah.
You're often juggling these huge things: career, relationships, money, trying to find meaning.
It's a lot.
And all while your phone shows you a million people apparently doing it better, faster, and more beautifully. It can honestly feel like walking a high wire blindfolded, right?
Yeah.
With zero room for error. What are the sort of deeper costs of living under that pressure?
Oh, the cost is enormous. It's huge, and it spreads into everything. Chasing perfect like that, it's not sustainable. It fuels this constant humming anxiety, keeps you working late, rewriting that email for the 10th time, agonizing over tiny decisions, that relentless self-criticism. It's mentally and physically exhausting. It's a direct path to burnout.
Okay.
And another big one is analysis paralysis. The fear of an imperfect result keeps us totally frozen, stuck at the starting line.
Like you can't even begin.
Exactly. Like a painter terrified of making a wrong mark on a pristine canvas, so they just leave it blank. It's perfect, sure, unblemished, but it's also empty. A story that never got told. We miss out on so much growth, so much experience because of that fear.
And when you're always performing, always keeping that porcelain mask on tight, it feels like you can lose touch with who you actually are deep down.
Yeah.
You start feeling like a stranger in your own story because you've edited out all the interesting, messy human bits. And this chronic stress, experts say it takes a physical toll too, right? Sleep problems, digestive issues, muscle tension.
Absolutely. Chronic stress impacts the body significantly.
It just sounds like a really heavy price to pay for something that's ultimately an illusion.
It absolutely is. And that's the core paradox, isn't it? In trying so hard to build a perfect life, we often stop ourselves from truly living it. Think about it. Real joy. It's in spontaneous laughter, not some perfectly staged photo. Real growth comes from falling, dusting yourself off, learning the lesson, not from meticulously avoiding every single potential misstep. Chasing perfection often means sacrificing real connection, authentic experience.
But maybe this is where we can shift things. What if imperfection isn't actually brokenness? What if it's more like your unique blueprint?
Ooh, I like that. Your blueprint.
Yeah. What if those flaws aren't bugs, but features?
Yeah.
That scar, that struggle you went through. They aren't mistakes. They're threads woven into the unique tapestry of your story.
That connects beautifully to the Japanese art of kintsugi. Are you familiar with it?
Vaguely, yeah. Repairing pottery.
Exactly. When a piece of pottery breaks, they don't just toss it out. They carefully mend the pieces back together using a special lacquer mixed with powdered gold.
Gold, right.
And the philosophy behind it is profound. The idea is that the object actually becomes more beautiful, more valuable because it was broken. The cracks aren't hidden. They're highlighted, celebrated as part of its unique history, its strength.
Wow.
It's such a powerful metaphor for our own lives. We are, in a very real way, more beautiful for having been broken and mended. Our so-called cracks, our failures, heartbreaks, vulnerabilities, they're precisely what make our stories unique, resilient, precious. They give us depth.
So how do we apply that kintsugi idea to ourselves?
Yeah.
How do we, fire that harsh inner critic?
Yeah.
The one telling you to just throw your broken pot away.
Yeah.
How do we hire an inner voice that does kintsugi on our souls?
That's the key question.
Well, experts suggest this practical toolkit, the 3 C's of self-compassion. Sounds useful.
It really is.
Okay, so first is catch it. Just acknowledge the critical thought.
Yeah.
Don't judge it. Just notice it. There's that I'm not good enough story again.
Just naming it.
All right. Second, challenge it with compassion. This is crucial. Talk to yourself the way you talk to a dear friend. You wouldn't tell your friend they're a total failure for one mistake, would you?
Never.
You'd say something like, hey, you're human. You're trying your best. This one thing doesn't define you. Apply that kindness inward. And third, change it. Reframe the thought. So instead of, I can't believe I messed that up, I'm so stupid, try maybe, okay, that didn't go as planned, and yeah, that's frustrating, but what can I learn from this? How can I approach it differently next time? It's about mending, not discarding. Applying kintsugi right to your mind.
And this leads us to think about vulnerability, doesn't it? If perfectionism sees vulnerability as kryptonite, what if it's actually a superpower?
About treatment power. Interesting.
We've often been taught vulnerability equals weakness, something to hide, but research especially points strongly the other way. Vulnerability is the birthplace of connection. When you bravely share your authentic, imperfect self, maybe admitting you're struggling, you basically give others permission to do the same. It creates what someone called atomic level connection, real empathy.
Like when a friend admits they're having a hard time as a new parent.
Exactly. And suddenly you feel less alone in your own chaos. It's that courageous act of saying, this is me, the real me, warts and all. And usually the response isn't judgment. It's often a chorus of, me too. That shared recognition, that's the bedrock of every truly meaningful human bond.
And this reframing idea, it works powerfully for setbacks too, right?
Hmm.
Perfectionists often see life as this pass-fail test.
Definitely.
But we need to shift that. Setbacks aren't verdicts on who we are. They're just data. Failure isn't an identity. It's information.
Data, not definition. I like that.
Think about a scientist, right? An experiment doesn't work out.
Mm.
They don't yell, I'm a terrible scientist. No. They analyze the data, ask, why didn't this work? Form a new hypothesis, and try again.
The failure is essential to discovery.
Exactly. It was a crucial part of the process. We can treat our own lives with that same curiosity, that same resilience.
Absolutely. Every stumble, every misstep, it truly is a gift of information, even if it's wrapped in, the sometimes painful paper of disappointment. Our job is to unwrap it, find the lesson inside.
Unwrap the gift.
Yeah. When you stop seeing setbacks as reflecting your worth and start seeing them as part of your personal learning journey, that paralyzing fear of trying it loses its grip. A really useful exercise for this is creating a failure resume.
A failure resume. Tell me more.
Okay, so you list some of your significant failures or setbacks, and next to each one you write down 2 things. First, what valuable lesson did I learn from this? And second, how did that lesson actually help me later on, maybe in ways I didn't expect?
Connecting the dots backward.
Precisely. This transforms that history of failures from something shameful into actually a powerful testament to your resilience, your growth. It flips the script from what's wrong with me to look how far I've come.
So when you really start leaning into all this, embracing the messiness, what does that actually feel like? I think it's that unmistakable glow of authenticity.
Yeah.
You ever met someone who's just completely unapologetically themselves?
Oh yeah, you know them when you see them.
They aren't trying to be cool. They just are.
Yeah.
They laugh loudly, admit their nerdy passions. They're okay saying, I don't know. There's this undeniable magnetic energy about them.
That magnetic energy is the glow of authenticity. When you finally take off that porcelain mask, it's like switching on a bright light inside. Authenticity, as the experts describe it, is about alignment.
Alignment.
It's when your actions, your words, they genuinely match your deepest values, your beliefs. It's the profound freedom of not having to perform. It's that quiet confidence knowing the people who matter value the real you, not some carefully built persona. That harmony between inner self and outer expression, it's incredibly deep, unshakable source of strength.
Which brings us to this really practical, powerful idea, championing good enough. Anne Lamott, the writer, she gives the best advice for perfectionists. Embrace the shitty first draft.
Ha, yes, love that.
She argues basically every great piece of writing starts as a terrible, rambling mess. But giving yourself permission to write that mess is what gives words on the page. It overcomes the terror of the blank screen. Then you can refine.
Get something down, anything.
Exactly. And this applies way beyond writing. The mantra is progress, not perfection. Realizing that done is often better than perfect is so freeing. Chasing perfect keeps you stuck in draft zero, just staring at the blank page. Giving yourself permission for good enough is what lets you move forward, create, engage.
And it's fascinating how that good enough approach feeds directly into creativity and innovation. Perfectionism, ironically, can be the absolute enemy of innovation.
How so?
Well, creativity doesn't really thrive in sterile, overly controlled spaces. It loves the mess, the happy accidents, the unexpected twists. Allowing for imperfection fundamentally opens the door to possibility, to discovery.
Like finding something new by mistake.
Exactly. Think about penicillin. Huge breakthrough, right? Result of Fleming's famously messy lab, a contaminated petri dish. Post-it notes, born from a failed attempt to create a super strong glue.
No way.
Yeah. Or think about jazz. Many brilliant solos started with a technically wrong note that the musician then skillfully, creatively wove into something new and amazing. Embracing imperfection means seeing a mistake, not as something to erase, but as an unexpected turn that might lead somewhere brilliant.
And you see these stories that shine through the cracks everywhere, don't you? These aren't stories of flawless, easy success. They're profound reminders that our struggles, rejections, perceived flaws, they aren't roadblocks. They're often essential ingredients for a life of real impact, real meaning. Their light, like that kintsugi gold, shines brighter because of the cracks.
And thinking bigger picture, this really means we need to dethrone the perfect role model. That person with the seemingly perfect everything, career, family, body, life. It's a dangerous fantasy.
Sets you up for failure.
Totally. Holding them up as the ideal guarantees you'll feel inadequate. Instead, let's consciously seek out imperfect role models. People who are honest about their struggles, mental health, mistakes whose power lies in their humanity, not some illusion of flawlessness. They're the real heroes. They show us what's possible with our imperfections.
And the really beautiful thing is the ripple effect, isn't it? Embracing imperfection starts with you, but it definitely doesn't end there. As we get more compassionate with ourselves.
We get more compassionate with others.
Exactly. When we accept our own bad days, our own limits, we're way less likely to judge a friend or colleague harshly for having one. When we're brave enough to be vulnerable, it invites authenticity from everyone around us. It changes how we connect.
It really does. And we can collectively shift the culture in small but incredibly powerful ways.
Like what?
Well, maybe admitting I'm overwhelmed at work instead of pretending everything's perfect. Or choosing to post a photo that isn't perfectly filtered. Or genuinely celebrating a friend's brave attempt, even if it didn't quite work out, just as much as a big win.
Celebrating the effort.
Yes. And also how we respond when someone is vulnerable with us. Meeting it with a simple, heartfelt, thank you for sharing that with me, instead of judgment or, empty platitudes. These small conscious acts, when lots of us do them, help build a more empathetic, connected, and just, more human world. You're actively helping build a culture where the kintsugi heart is valued way more than the porcelain mask.
So consider this your deep invitation. An invitation to a beautifully flawed life. And it's important to remember, right? This isn't a one-time thing. You don't just decide once and you're done.
It's a practice.
It's a conscious daily practice. It's choosing, again and again, to be real over being right. Choosing courage over comfort. Valuing connection over control.
And maybe it helps to think about some key ideas, like an imperfection manifesto. What would be on that?
Good question.
Well, first, recognizing perfect is a myth. It just doesn't exist. Then, seeking progress, Always, not perfection. Treating yourself with real compassion, that inner voice needs to be a supportive coach, not a harsh critic.
Definitely.
Viewing failure as data, like we said, never a final verdict. Daring to be vulnerable, knowing it's the key to connection. Celebrating good enough, remembering done, is often way better than perfect.
Get it done.
Finding inspiration in others' resilience, not their illusion of flawlessness. Honoring your authentic self, your quirks, scars, flaws are what make you uniquely you. And finally, practicing that authenticity daily. It's kindness to yourself and a gift to the world.
Okay, so now it's your turn listening to this. Take a moment. Think about your own life. What's one imperfection you've maybe been trying to hide or fix or just erase?
Hmm.
Now consider, just for a second, how might that actually be a really powerful part of your unique story? How has it shaped you? What unexpected strength might it have given you without you even realizing?
That's a deep question.
And then here's a little challenge. This week, take one small, imperfect step towards a goal that's been stuck because you're afraid of not doing it perfectly. Maybe it really is writing one messy paragraph or walking for just 10 minutes, something small.
Imperfect action.
Yes. And then this is crucial. Genuinely celebrate that step. Acknowledge the courage it took to take imperfect action. That's huge. Ultimately, this deep dive, it's really been about understanding the incredible transformative power of embracing your beautifully, messily, wonderfully human self. Remember, your imperfections. They aren't obstacles you have to overcome. They're the very texture of your story. They're the source of your unique strength, and they're the foundation for genuine, real connection.
Just imagine how your world might shift if you approached every challenge, not aiming for flawlessness, but with the curiosity of that kintsugi artist, ready to see the beauty, even celebrate the cracks.
Until next time we meet in another episode of Tiny Talks Big Ideas podcast, stay safe, stay healthy, and stay curious.